From a shamanic perspective, a new question is, why is my nervous system so frazzled? Why am I juggling nonstop? And why do I feel it's stronger than others? So, a huge part of this is because we are living, especially in this modern world, if you're in America or the Western hemisphere, actually it doesn't make any sense because it's a circle. So like, is there a side? No. So, okay, if you're living, especially in America like I am, we live with overstimulation, constant. And it's because we're living disconnected from the land. We're living disconnected from the elders. We're living disconnected from the ancient ways. And I do have a more human modern answer coming, but so just bear with me. And because we're living separate, disconnected from nature, from the cycles, the teachers that show us how to live slower, and because we're disconnected from the land and the indigenous practices of our bodies and ancestry, as well as disconnected from the indigenous peoples and their practices on the land that we're living in or living on, we're separated, we're disconnected. When we start to reconnect, we start to see that actually we're not alone. Why do I feel stronger from others? Maybe you don't. Maybe you do. So much of our capacity to hold things and to accomplish things, to be certain ways, comes from our life, comes from our conditioned behavior, conditioned taught experience from our youth, from our traumas, from our experiences. And so we all have different capacities, but we're also all living completely different lives. My life is so different from my spouse's because of our background and because of what we're doing every day. And my day is different from my colleagues because of the way they live. We all live different lives. So comparing does nothing but cause pain and suffering and disconnection. And so if we start to listen, we start to hear that other people's experiences are quite a lot like ours. And so if we're starting to feel like, wait a second, why do I feel worse than everyone else? Then we have to start thinking about beyond that deception that keeps us in the doing and in the active, in the belief that we're supposed to burn out because that means that we're productive. Martyrdom is the shadow of the healer, and victim is the shadow of the warrior. That is summer and winter energy there, and that is showing imbalance. Again, disconnection from the archetypes within the self, letting us know that we are not doing the healing work that we need to do, and I'm going to get to that in a second. And we are not showing up with courage and bravery in the face of discomfort. It's all interrelated. So don't put the focus on others, focus on you, because we are all doing the best we can with what we got. Yes, even jerks. And they're a jerk for a reason. We're all doing the best we can in the way we know how, in the way that life served us, and the way we served life. So stop comparing, because it's not doing anything but causing more stress. Now, why is your nervous system frazzled? Let's get into that healer and warrior bit. Because deep down, something inside of you hurts, is calling for attention. And instead of seeing it, hearing it, responding to it, you, my dear, any of you, are responding to the expectations that live outside of us. The expectations of a modern world that we live in that says, hey, you've got bills to pay. You have deadlines. Write this email. Someone's waiting on you. Hurry, hurry, hurry. And it's just, it causes so much stress. And it causes us to disconnect from the land in our body. It causes us to disconnect from here. So we're not just not seeing the cycles and rhythms and beauty of slow and interrelation outside of ourselves. We're disconnected from ourselves. So those red flags that you might get, your intuitive voice that says don't do this or do this instead, or the red flags that we get, like we're starting to feel sick, but we push through, or something just doesn't feel right about what we're doing because it's not aligned with our truth or our integrity, and we do it anyway because we're expected to, we're supposed to. All of this stuff is what contributes. But ultimately, we're ignoring these flags, we're ignoring these intuitive truths, and we're ignoring our body's need for rest because we're too busy fitting into the grand story of doing rather than into the balanced flow of doing and being together. We've lost the being. And so we go back to that wounded piece inside. What is it that you're pushing away, avoiding, ignoring, afraid of, uncomfortable with, that hasn't been dealt with? We tend to run faster when we're running away from something. That was good. I like that. But we tend to run faster when we're running away from something. And so if we're running, if you're doing so much that your nervous system can't, there's something in there that needs to be addressed. Okay. So what's wrapped in there? Wounding, ego, pride, fear of abandonment, fear of destitution. These are all very real fears, and some of them are yours and some of them are your ancestors, and some of them is the land and some of them is the collective. And you're not going to know until you go in. And you're not going to go in until you slow down. And you're not going to slow down until you realize that if you do less, everything's actually going to be okay. You're probably not going to get fired if you do less for a few days. You might get asked questions because you're not being your normal self, but then you just say, I'm going through some shit. I'm dealing with it. Thank you for your grace and your patience. And I'm sure, you follow your intuition, but I'm sure it's going to be okay. And unless you're a cardiothoracic surgeon with a person on the table in the middle of a surgery, if you slow down and take a few breaths, no one should be hurt by that. Okay? Okay, I went way off book, so I've covered that one. Now, because we're not shown the benefit of living like nature in our culture, check. So often our self-value, importance, and fears are all wrapped up in that doing and not evident in our being. It's okay if you're not like a healed guru. It's okay, we're humans. It's okay to be not egoic. Wait, it's okay if you have ego, is what I'm trying to say. It just means that you need to own it. Recognize it in yourself and take ownership for it and just say, look, I'm acting out of pride and wounded ego right now. Okay, thank you for that honesty. I can work with that. But don't come at me, right, with this ego and then expect me to just cater to it. So often our ego and everything gets wrapped up in that doing. And so if we feel like if we slow down, then those very things that are wrapped up in that doing get freaked out, and then we start to freak out. So what is important to remember here when you're thinking about who you are because of the doing, recognize that your thinking is not reality. What you think of yourself, what you think you're capable of, what you think, your thoughts are just in your head. They are just the way that our brains are responding to the context and the situation that we are in, and also get stuck in our dreams, and also get stuck in our fears, and also get stuck in our past. Our thoughts are not reality, and our thoughts do not define us. Your feeling is profoundly real. What you feel in response to something is real for you, but it is not always indicative or properly mirroring the situation we are in. But they are real for you. And so sometimes we shove our feelings down or away because we think they're not necessary or they're not appropriate. Our feelings are always appropriate no matter what. That doesn't mean the situation. Oh God, I'm getting off shot. I'm getting off here. I'm sorry. Your feelings are profoundly real and they're valid. You are validated in your feelings no matter what. However, your thoughts are not always real, and people are not always expected to give you what you think you need because of your emotions. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you can get your emotions pulled out of your doing and out of your identity and out of your ego, and you can honor them as part of your body's response, but not indicative of what people are supposed to do, then you can, or what you're supposed to do for people, then you can start to lessen that burden on yourself as well. That's another reason your nervous system is frazzled, is because you're fucking pent up with energy and emotions, very likely, so busy with the juggling of the things that you're just over full. And when we're over full, we burn out. So What do? I've made a beautifully long video. So what? Great, Martha. We know all these things already. We know about following your intuition, breathing more, self-care, doing less, live like nature. So what do? Well, you could do all those things that I just said. You could work on noticing your thoughts and your thought pattern and your emotional response to them and honoring your emotions. You could also start making space for yourself to feel those emotions, whether it's in the car, 5 minutes in the parking lot before you go to work or after work, or, if you're rushing, 5 minutes before bed is also totally fine too. But do less and watch. See what happens. Maybe say no or not right now and see what happens. Maybe say yes to something and see what happens. Listen to your body and nourish. There are adaptogens that are amazing out there to help the nervous system in times, because sometimes we're just in a busy season and we've got toddlers and work and friends and ailing family members. Sometimes that just happens. So we have our beautiful plant medicine allies to help our nervous system take care of our body while we are busy out here. And then when we're able to, we come back and we let the emotions that we weren't able to process come out. Here's a really good one. Ask questions. If something is being expected of you, if you feel like I have to go from work and I got to get to the grocery store because I got to get the kids, and then I did it because otherwise everyone's going to be mad at me, or I'm going to be a failure, or my spouse will leave me, or my job will fire me. Ask the question, honey. Ask, what will happen if I don't get to this today? What happens? Are you okay if this? Could you help me out here? What are the boundaries of this expectation? And if I step in a different place than I'm normally in within those boundaries, is that okay? If I step out of those boundaries and I just fuck off the circle altogether, is that okay? Ask questions. You're never in theory, you should not get in trouble for asking questions. And if you do, I encourage you to analyze that relationship or situation clearly with the help of a therapist or a healer. And then be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with other people. Just be honest. Because the more we pretend that we're okay and we're not, the more we just get wrapped up in the tempest that is already actively flowing around us. And to be very clear, and if you've watched this long, you'll have an honest moment for me. I get wrapped up in all this shit too. I have all the tools and I still get wrapped up. I get wrapped up in competition. Why is everyone else doing this better than me? Or why won't people just do this healing work? It's so easy. I did it. Well, yeah, not everyone experienced life the way I did. And you know what? Maybe not everyone is doing this, that, or the other instead of their business promotions or whatever. Actually, I hate calling my stuff business. I call it a private practice. The point stands. I get caught up and then I have to take a breath and remember everyone's doing the best they can. And what I am doing and how I am living is for me and the people I love and take care of. But I do it for me because the more I am me, the more I make space for the people I love and take care of to be them and to find their own life rather than just living mine that was unfulfilled. And the more I stop doing and start listening, the more I allow the breath to bring me back into the flow, the more my nervous system calms down, the more I see with clear eyes that everything's going to be just fine. And the more that I realize that what I was juggling isn't always valuable for anybody. Sometimes it's just keeping up a system that is going to run just fine without me. Because guess what? When I die, all this shit's going to keep going. Everyone's going to keep living. The trees are going to be here. The animals will be here. I know. Of course, I'm already like, doomsday. Something will live. The earth will be here, in theory. That doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm here. I'm going to do my work honestly. I'm going to show up with compassion and self-love because life is a gift. But I'm not so wrapped up in my ego and competition that I think I have to be a certain way, which is really doing, cloaked in the being, because I'm supposed to. because I'm expected to, or because I have to prove. That's it. Sorry it's so long, but not sorry. And I hope you enjoyed it.